Hi, it's Dr. Fox again, and today we're going to move on to the second interaction of TESA, and I think it will be very helpful if you just kind of remember what you've been practicing and we go back over it. Last week we talked about the first interaction, which was calling on students, and you got some creative ways to handle that. But now that you've practiced it, when you call on a student, how do you respond? Now, some students are going to get the answer correct, and others are going to go, why are you calling on me? And others are going to get it incorrect. So how are you going to handle it? That's what interaction number 2 is about. Again, I want to go back to the overall process of TESA. Remember, there are 15 interactions. We are now going to number 2 of the 15. There are also 3 strands that each of these interactions fit under. So the first one was equitable opportunities to respond. The second one is how do we go about giving feedback. And the third area is that personal regard. Interaction number 2 comes under strand B, which is feedback. So here you go. You have a student that you call on, and he or she gives the incorrect answer, but at least they're responding. What you need to do is give feedback in such a way that it doesn't embarrass them. It doesn't over-evaluate the answer. It was incorrect. So you just get into the mode with all your students saying it's correct or it's incorrect. Now that sounds pretty harsh and it sounds pretty simple, but it's that because we have to unteach what we've been teaching. We've been exaggerating with students and praising them when in reality it was an incorrect answer or only partially correct. So what we're trying to do is get everybody in the classroom to know that they are going down the right road or the correct road or the incorrect. And this is what TESA interaction number 2 is all about. So a couple of things that you can do is start by just saying the word, it's correct or incorrect, and you move on. Now the other thing will have to do is so often we as teachers don't want to say one way or the other, especially when it's wrong. So what we do is we ask them the question, they give us the incorrect answer, we just move on, or we say something like, well, you must not have read the information, which may or may not be true, but that's not what it's all about. We want to remember, number 1 is to engage them, number 2 is to give them clean and clear feedback so that they know how and where to go to correct without judgment, which is what interaction number 2 is all about. So another thing you can do is go back to what Sandra talked about in the last tape on pair share. Again, you can work with them so that they can ask a peer if their answer is correct or not, if they agree with them, and then they get to share it, so they do get an opportunity to succeed. But the real truth is, it's not a bad thing that we don't always know the answers and we're not always correct. We learn from our mistakes. We learn when we find out we're doing something that is not going to facilitate us, support us, or help us in something that's down the road that we don't even know about. Once again, it's about the way you present it. So you're not getting into judgment. You're just basically letting them know they're on the right track or they need to go down another road. And on that, I will see you next week, and we'll be talking about the third interaction, which is the first one in strand C, which is personal regard. Have a good week.
Hi, I'm Sandra Elliott again, and I'd just like to talk briefly about strand number 2, which is to affirm whether it is a correct or an incorrect response. And I want to read something that I think is significant because it is important to communicate to students to try, to continue to be motivated, to work at getting things correctly. Every failure is a seed for success. This is the principle of feedback. Our failures are stepping stones in the mechanism of creation. This is how we learn to do things right. And that's from Deepak Chopra. And I think it's a very important philosophy that if you're a sub and you go into the classroom and you don't really know these students, how can you quickly give accurate feedback about whether they're on the right track, they're correct or incorrect? And I believe that Dr. Fox mentioned you could do the thumbs up, thumbs down. And what's interesting about doing that is that you'll notice students will tend to look around because they're not sure. And when students do that, you've got feedback that there may be a large proportion of that class that doesn't understand. So in our book, we do have a page about how it's important. It's on page 139 and 140 about going back and repeating, providing visuals that give them the correct information so they can remember it. And if you're a sub and you're in the elementary level, many times they'll even have small blackboards or whiteboards that they can write on and hold up. And this can be a way that you can quickly identify that something is right or wrong. What's important about this is that once a student learns, gives an answer that is incorrect, and no one corrects them, then it's reinforced. And it becomes doubly and triply difficult for that student to be on the right track. So again, I'm Sandra Elliott, and hopefully you'll find our little book useful in utilizing some of these teacher behaviors in the classroom.